So let's get to it. We're talking today about alchemy. And so I'd like to give anybody a chance to log in because I know if your morning's been anything like mine, it's been a little crazy. Uh, I know the last time I came to you 2 weeks ago, I had stopped at a local park and because I was traveling, getting all the doctor's appointments and stuff in line where I needed to be. And so we had the outdoor experience, and I really, truly love that. That was great. And I was considering going outside again for today, but here in the Midwest, it started out as a pretty dreary and rather cold morning, and I chose not to do that. So, but let's talk about becoming an alchemist, turning that pain into power. Um, So, when we look at the word alchemy and where alchemy started, it's kind of science and pseudoscience, the energy, the energetics, and things of taking substances and creating them into gold is where the word comes from. So what we do with theta healing and energetic healing is there is some science behind what we do, and there's also working in that spiritual or that magical realm to have things happen in our lives that are for our best interest, for our highest and best good, that are really cool and awesome and amazing. So we're working on all of that. And so we're going to talk to you about how we make this all happen. So hopefully everybody can hear me. I know that was a problem with the very first time I went live, and I think that we have remedied a lot of that. So we'll continue moving on. And just a reminder, so I am an intuitive energy healer. I work mostly with theta healing. So if you would like to receive the clearings, the downloads, and the healing that I do when that is offered up, you just say yes out loud. If you type it in the comments, that's really great. If you're catching me in the replay, feel free to um, do hashtag replay so I know where you caught the work, and also put yes in the comments there as well. It is energy work, so it is still there in the recordings and stuff. So I've had a really busy morning this morning, so getting settled into today's talk. Um, and I did have a question that came in that says, how do I know when I'm done healing? Or if this pain is just part of who I am now? It's kind of a loaded question. How do I know when I'm done healing? I don't know that we are ever completely done with healing. Healing is a process. And I found in my own healing and what I watch my clients go through is as we get through one hurdle, one pain, one piece, then we have the opportunity to go a little more deeper. And so we're working on things as they go through the levels. And that's turning that pain into power. How shifting your focus of not looking at what was done to you, but looking how things are done for you. So we come across a challenge or we come across something that makes us angry. We really That's a signal. That's the signal that someone has stepped on your boundaries. And that's what allows us to get angry. So we need to really be aware of our boundaries. And when we establish these boundaries, being willing to stand behind them. And when I was teaching parenting skills, that was like, don't set a rule unless you're ready to follow through with it. It's the same thing with a boundary. Set up a boundary that you can actually maintain and manage. That's going to be workable. That's going to be part of who you're able to. Now, it doesn't mean that you set up one boundary and you can't change it. It's not going to change. It's going to grow and it's going to evolve as you continue to grow. So looking at that, how do I know when I'm done healing? I think that healing is an ongoing process, and that each time you heal a specific wound or a specific event, you open yourself up to going deeper in the process of healing. As you go deeper in that process, your vibrational energy gets up leveled, and you're going with a higher vibration. And as you're ready, um, I was just going through some of my quotes this morning in working on some website stuff, and one of my quotes is, "You're not broken. You don't need fixed. We need to heal." And doing that healing, you don't heal when you're ready. You're going to do that healing when you're brave, when you're being courageous, and you're really ready to step out of the discomfort and into the new, which is a level of discomfort. And we've talked about that several times. So, how we turn this pain into power, and looking back at, I've had many life events. I've been here a few years, gone around the sun a few times. And as things come across my plate, some of them were not pleasant, and I've learned and I've grown from them. And I would say one of the biggest things, the biggest challenges, the challenge that really woke me up was going through my divorce, and going through, and I can't even say it was my divorce, it was going through the divorce. Um, it was the end of that chapter of my life. And I felt the grief and the betrayal. And when I was able to realize that I didn't want to do that anymore, I didn't want to feel this every day, I didn't want to continue that way every single day, I was ready to step into something new. I was ready to take all of this pain, this grief, and all of those things and make some really good lemonade with it. To no longer look at what was done to me, but it was done for me. And this, which is a really huge event, and I don't wish that on anyone. But when something big happens, I'd like you to twist that. And this is the alchemy part. Put the twist on it to see how you can see how something was potentially done for you. For me, that was my time to look at everything that I had done in my life. And it gave me that opportunity to really look at the pros and cons of every situation, and to make an informed decision of how I am going to go forward in life. Now, this didn't happen overnight. This took me longer than I would like to have admitted, but this took me a few years to come to that realization that this is something that was done for me. This was an event that was put in my life path to give me the opportunity to make conscious efforts, conscious choices about what I'm going to do in my life. So it's also making that conscious decision that that pain is no longer going to define me. That pain is being asked to be alchemized, to be twisted. You're you're allowed to keep the wisdom, but let go of the wound. So I am able to keep the wisdom, keep the memories. There were some great times in that part of my life. But the things that were painful, I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to gain the wisdom, but I'm going to leave the hurt behind, because being hurt, being wounded does not apply. It does not help me. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not in the good stuff. So using your pain experience as kind of being a portal. We want to stick with this alchemy language and how we're twisting this to find the positive, find the things that we want, and to restructure our life and restructure where we're going forward from this. And with Theta, we talk a lot about forgiveness. So in forgiveness, it works two ways. There's one, forgiving the people who set things in your path that made you stop, made you go, whoa, that disrupted that perfect life you thought you had. So we're going to forgive them. We're also going to forgive our higher power for letting this happen in the first place. And most importantly, and I think one of the hardest things, one of the hardest things for me was forgiving myself for the role that I played in that. And I had to accept that. I had to accept the role that I played and to forgive myself. I do believe that at any given challenge in our life that we handle it with the best of the ability that we have at the time with the information we have. And so we honestly we're doing our best, and we got to forgive ourselves for not knowing any better. And when we do the forgiveness and we do the healing, it doesn't mean that we forget what happened to us. We are placing a solid meaning on it, and we are letting go of the hurt part of it. So imagine how that is, that you can learn from your wounds and you can recover from it. You are not that wound. You are not that pain. That doesn't define who you are. It defines who you rise up. You know, the concept of the phoenix, burning to the ground and rebirthing from that. And that's how we heal. And that's one of the things that I would like you to get from today is all the things you go through. It's not about the thing. It's about how you are able to put on some forgiveness with that, how you're able to do some healing, and you're able to move forward in your life, carrying the lessons and the wisdom without the pain and the shame and the guilt and the betrayal and all the other emotions that come with that. And the healing process, one of the things that I've also learned, so I did a really big healing. I did an up leveling. I experienced my spiritual reawakening, and it was interesting. It was kind of scary at times, but it's been one of the best things I've done. And since then, I would like to say, oh, I can just apply these healing things to every little bump in the road that comes up. But you can't. Everything, all of the emotions, they need to be experienced. So you have to experience them to a point before you can put that healing into place. So let's let's do a little bit of healing here. Let's talk about let's clear that you're obligated for that pain to define you. So we're going to take away, we're going to remove whatever obligates you to stick with that pain and to claim that pain as your new identity, to be able to have the discernment, to have the wisdom and leave the pain, and to create your new identity that's in your highest and best good. Let's remove the obligation that you have to suffer in order to grow. We don't have to do all the suffering. We are able to grow and to learn without wallowing in that suffer. So we're going to remove the obligation that you have to suffer to grow. Let's remove the obligation that letting go of pain will lose your strength. And I relate this back to like when I get really, really angry, I can really clean house. We don't need the pain and the anger to motivate us. We can find our motivation in our happiness. So instead of having to, for example, get angry to have a clean house, let's look at the joy that you have, the sense of accomplishment from having a clean home. How does that work for you? How can you look for the positives? And so we're going to remove the obligation that you have to have pain to have strength. Okay. And some downloads here that you know how to carry the wisdom and to let go of the wound, that you're safe in letting go of what no longer serves you. So this would be kind of a um, maybe a review of downloading the divine definition of forgiveness, that you know what it feels like to forgive and to be forgiven. Okay, because you want to ask for forgiveness from anybody who thinks that you wronged them. Let's do some forgiveness work there. Also, that let's download that you know how to turn your story into purpose with grace. So finding those nuggets in there and cherishing the nuggets while letting go of the wounds and the trauma that goes with that. So if you'd like those, just say yes out loud. You're catching this in the replay, hashtag replay, put yes in the comments. Okay. Oh, that feels really big. That feels really big. So looking back at that question, how do I know when I'm done healing? I don't know that you're in the big picture. I think that healing is a lifelong practice. How do you know when you're done healing from a specific wound? For me and for many of my clients, it becomes when you are able to talk about the event without feeling the event. That was one of my biggest indicators that I knew I had really done some serious work, because before, just to talk about some of those things, I could feel the anger welling up. I could feel it in my chest. I could feel it in my stomach. I would be nauseous. I wanted to vomit. It was awful. And my head would pound, of course. And as I did the healing, as I went through my healing process, I am now able to talk to things objectively. This happened, and we move on. I no longer feel the emotion. I'm not drugged down by it. And that's the same experience that many of my clients talk about is, well, yeah. And oftentimes that healing, when we're in a session, that healing from that specific incident begins instantly during that session. We're not talking about things being long and drawn out. So, you know, letting go, it doesn't erase your story, but it reclaims your power, because when we're in pain and anger, we have all of those emotions. When we are still emotionally charged, we tend to be reactive. And when we're reactive, we don't make good decisions. But when you can heal that, you can be objective about it, and then you can take action at what comes to you next in life. So letting go, it does not erase your story. It reclaims your power, puts you back into being an empowered person, able to make good decisions from a huge bank of wisdom and not emotionally reacting. So feel free to message me here on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn, and I have a YouTube channel as well. So message me when you are ready to alchemize your story in a private session. You can certainly, we can do a discovery session and see if what you're dealing with is appropriate for the types of services that I offer. Next week, we are going to be doing aligned and ready, stepping into the next version of you. Let's try that again. Next week is aligned and ready, stepping into the next version of you. Hope to see you there. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you have other comments or questions for me, please always feel free to instant message me, direct message me, schedule a discovery call. If you have suggestions for what you'd like me to cover here on a live session, please let me know. I'd be happy to entertain those things and make these sessions the most that you can get for your time. I enjoy spending my Tuesdays with you, and hopefully we'll be back outside soon. Talk to you then.